Hello, welcome to Kitchen Basics 101, where I teach you the bare bone basics as if you've never cooked a day in your life from the perspective of a mom. I got some stuff lingering around in the fridge, so I'm gonna make a delicious bolognese. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's actually pretty easy. And I'm just gonna start off by prepping some ingredients. So if you have beef stock, beef broth, you can just use beef stock or beef broth. But I like to use better than bouillon, so I'm making my own beef stock with some better than bouillon. So it's like a teaspoon per 8 ounces. I'm gonna make 2 cups, which is 16 ounces. So I put like 2 teaspoons, maybe a little bit more than 2 teaspoons. And then I'm just gonna fill it up with 2 cups of water and stir it up. And that's just beef broth. Okay, then I'm just gonna set my beef broth aside and I'm gonna start prepping my veggies. None of this has to be very exact, which is why it's a great meal to I got a couple of carrots left over. I got an onion left over. Let me make something. I have ground beef that needs to be cooked today or it's going to go bad. You can use other types of meat, but today I'm going to use ground beef. You could certainly use pork or lamb, or you could use, like stew meat instead of use ground beef. But today what I got is ground beef. So that's what I'm going to make it with. You can just dice your veggies up into small pieces if you want. Oh, I got a fly away. But I'm going to use a food processor because I'm not a big fan of onions. If you've been here before, you know that. So because I'm going to use carrots and I'm going to use onions, I'm going to put them in the food processor and just get them really fine. But again, you could just chop it up, dice it up. You do not have to use the food processor. And then I'm just pulsing it in my food processor, which just means I'm pressing the button in intervals like this to get it chopped up fine. And again, this can be as fine or as chunky as you want it to be in your bolognese. It really doesn't matter. I just like it pretty fine. My carrots are all diced up. I'm just gonna put them in my Dutch oven because I'm gonna sweat my veggies before I do anything else. Do you have to use the Dutch oven? No, you can use just any pot, big pot. We're gonna add an onion, which is part of the reason that I use the food processor, is because I don't love onions. And so this way I can blend the onions up into almost nothing. So I just cut it in half, as you can see, leaving the root intact on one end just to make it easier to slice up. And then I'm just pulling back the skin and then like the first layer of the onion, okay? And then I'm going to put it in the food processor, so it doesn't really need to be like anything crazy. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to do a super rough chunk of it, like 4 pieces. Yeah. For my fellow onion haters out there, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, why don't you just leave it out? You don't like onion. To which I hear you. The issue is the onion does lend a lot of flavor and a lot of sweetness to this dish. So if you do leave the onion out, which you can, I would recommend replacing it with more carrots, maybe some red peppers, but you're never going to get the same level of sweetness as you will with the onion. So I use about a medium onion and I would say like 4 or 5 carrots. Okay, so I pulverized my onion, but again, you could have just chopped, and then I'm just going to pop it in my pot. Okay, there's my onions and my carrots. I'm going to put just a little bit of olive oil in here to help me sweat out I would say maybe a tablespoon or 2 of olive oil. Then I'm going to do a little bit of salt. Not too much because we are going to be adding other salt elements, but you want to season as you go to help build flavor. And we're going to add pepper. Medium heat. We're going to start to sweat these vegetables, which just means like we want to cook them and soften them up, but we don't really want to like brown them or get a crust on them or anything. So we're just going to cook this up for a couple of minutes on medium heat. Okay, bolognese is easy, but it's not quick, okay? So this is about 8-10 minutes of sweating the vegetables. And now I'm gonna add some garlic. Now I grind up and freeze my own garlic, and I've done it here on the channel. So I'm gonna do a couple of cubes of this. This is the equivalent of a couple of cloves of garlic. So if you're using like jarlic or fresh garlic, cut up a couple cloves, mince them real fine, and just put them in here. And then you're gonna sweat that for a minute or 2. Now I'm gonna add some pancetta. You do not have to add pancetta. You can use whatever meat you want, but I'm gonna add pancetta to the mix here, and I'm just gonna give that a little cook. Now we could have taken the veg out and put the pancetta in here on its own to like crisp it up, but like I'm trying to do a 1 pot. I don't wanna bother. So we're just gonna put the pancetta here. Everything is gonna cook forever, so it's really gonna be okay. Okay, so then I made a spot in the pan and I'm gonna put some tomato paste, probably like half this tube because we got a pretty good pot going here of tomato paste concentrate. And we're just gonna toast that up. We want this to turn sort of a ruby color, and we can mix it with the veggies as well, but I'm just gonna toast it here for 1 second before I mix it in. Okay, it's been like 5 or 6 minutes, and now I'm gonna add the ground beef. And at this stage, I'm just gonna give it a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper, just to make sure I have layers of flavor here with the meat. Okay, so now I'm just breaking the meat up. So you can see it's like layers, it's like steps. It's easy, but it's just time consuming, right? It's a labor of love. So I'm just gonna cook the meat up until I don't see any more pink. Of course, it's a little harder to see because it's all mixed with my carrots and my onions and my tomato paste and all my yummy flavors. I know a lot of times when people think bolognese, they think tomato sauce, but bolognese is really a meat sauce, as you can see. The only tomato in here is tomato paste. Now, if you like it more tomato forward, I'm gonna add beef broth. You could add like tomato sauce to this, and you could get more of a meat tomato sauce. But I'm going for bolognese, so I'm gonna put beef broth in this once I get this meat browned up to where I like it. Oh, the smell coming off of here. I wish you could smell it. I wish you could taste it too, but oh, I wish you could smell it. Okay, if you like red wine, this would be a great time to add a cup or two of red wine if you like that flavor. I'm just gonna keep this super, super basic, and I'm not gonna do any wine. I'm just gonna do my beef broth. So I think we're ready for liquid. Okay, I'm gonna add those 2 cups of beef broth that we made earlier to the pot. Now, depending how much meat or how much veggies you have will depend on how much liquid you need here. I think this looks like the perfect consistency if it was done cooking, but it's gonna reduce while it cooks a little bit. So I'm gonna add another cup of water. So that could have been 3 cups of chicken broth or 3 cups of beef broth, or it could be some tomato sauce and some beef broth. It doesn't really matter. We just need some liquid in here. We're gonna bring this up to a boil, and then we're gonna cover, and we're gonna let it simmer on low for an hour, 2 hours. We'll check it after an hour and we'll see where we're at. This is after an hour covered. So now I'm gonna do it uncovered for like 30 minutes and see if I can get it to thicken up a little bit. Cause to me, I want it to be a little bit thicker. Now I stirred it a couple of times also, and you're gonna wanna do that just to see where you're at. Okay, now it's time for the pasta. I got water on the boil. I'm gonna use this Pappardelle pasta from Trader Joe's. Okay, I salted the water generously, and then these are gonna boil for about 12 minutes. Now, you could put some of our bolognese, you could put this into a separate pan and warm it up, and then add your pasta to your sauce. But what I'm gonna do is actually just mix it up in the bowl because I can't be bothered tonight. So I'll show you when I serve it up. Yum, I'm so excited. My pasta's drained, it's in the pot. I'm gonna scoop some of my bolognese. I'm gonna give it a toss, see where I'm at. Just need to make sure that my sauce to noodle ratio is right. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. I can't wait to taste. Okay, let's top with a little Parmesan cheese. Some people's little, some people's lot. Probably could have tossed the noodles right in the pot with the sauce, but I was just worried that it was too much sauce for the noodles. But now I'm like, maybe not. There is just something about a slow cooked meaty sauce and big gorgeous pappardelle noodles. Yum. Yeah, next time I would definitely just pop the noodles right there in that pot of sauce because there was plenty of noodles for the sauce, but sometimes there's not, so it just depends. Bon appetit.